Hey, what's going on, Truck Kings? Thank you guys for joining me so much again in another video. In this video, I'm going to explain to you guys why I believe the load rates are low, all while the cost of living is high and the fuel prices are really high as well. So I'm going to get very detailed. You're not going to want to miss out because it's a lot of good information, everything that is happening right before our own eyes. So stay till the end and I'll catch you on the other side. Alright, what's going on YouTube? So, as you can tell, today we are going to be talking about why there's a crash going on right now and why is fuel up but the load rates are down. It's very important for us truck drivers to know, because at the end of the day, a lot of people are confused, a lot of people are concerned, and they don't know what's going on. Some people are throwing the towels in, they're quitting, they're selling the trucks, but it's actually pretty simple. It's more simple. It's unfortunate why we're going through what we're going, but it is what it is. So before I get started though, before it gets too late, I actually gonna go take a quick shower first. As soon as I do and I get out, I will be talking about that, so stay tuned. All right, let's go. I always have to make sure I got the key because somehow this truck, when you lock it from here, most trucks when you lock it, even though you're locking it and you close the door, you can still open it, but this one locks. So I'm afraid that if I leave the key in there and I lock it, I'm gonna get locked out. I don't want to get locked out, you know what I mean? All right, now that I am ready to go, we can get to the point of this video. So yes, guys, I want to explain to you guys a little bit, as much as I can. I'm not the most knowledgeable guy out there, but I've been trying to kind of learn a little bit about the economy, how that works, how it can affect us as truck drivers, and just how it's affecting the whole USA right now, the things that are happening. And so, yeah, that's what I want to do right now, is explain to you guys why I think the loads are not paying good right now, all while the fuel prices are high. So, yeah, let's get to it. The first thing I want you guys to know, and I'm pretty sure you guys already know this, it's pretty common sense at this point in time. It's pretty obvious. I'm sure you guys know that inflation is out the roof, right? I mean, if you haven't gone to Walmart to buy certain things and you're buying 4, 5, 6 things and you're spending $100, then I don't know, you're probably living under a rock. But the reality is that inflation has gone out the roof, and therefore the Fed is trying to fight inflation. If you haven't been keeping up with the news, the Federal Reserve has been hiking up the interest rates, and it's making it more difficult for business to borrow money to prosper, for us, the people living here in the USA, for us to borrow money and prosper. The credit cards are more expensive because the interest rates go up as well. So inflation is a big factor that is causing what we are going through right now. Okay, but another factor is supply and demand, and we're gonna have to go back all the way to 2020 to kind of put it in perspective, all right? Because it's important to know how we got to high inflation rates right now in 2022. You need to know how we got here. It's not just we magically one day woke up and the next thing you know, inflation was out the roof. That's not how it works. So it's important to know what happened in 2020 that caused inflation to skyrocket, and a lot of it has to do with supply and demand. I'm not going to try to get too much into detail because first of all, I'm not too well experienced, but I just want to give you the gist of it, the main basics, so you guys can kind of understand. In 2020, we went through a crash, but it was called a pandemic crash because the pandemic caused the market to crash a little bit, okay? So when that happened, there was lockdowns, there was people getting COVID, people dying, people having to quarantine for 2 weeks at a time. Layoffs started to happen after that. The whole economy started shutting down. So that created a crash in the economy to a certain extent. But at the same time, sooner than later, it created a boom. And I'm going to tell you why. And again, it has to do with supply and demand. During the initiative of the pandemic, there was panic and there was fear. So everybody started buying up all the daily goods, the day-to-day goods, right? Toilet paper, food. People started planting stuff. So the seeds, a lot of people were purchasing seeds, at the Home Depot, at Walmart. Every single item that was important, water, a lot of the shelves started, running out of products. And so the demand was extremely, extremely high during the initiative of the pandemic. Many people were just stocking up on food. Even people were hoarding gas. I don't know if you guys know, gas and diesel. So when that happened, the retail stores are demanding more supply to the manufacturers. Sometimes they are able to provide and keep up with demand, but when they don't, it causes inflation because then the little bit of supply that we do have, it goes up in price. So that in itself caused inflation as well, and at the same time it caused the market to crash. But here's the crazy thing. As soon as we saw a crash, it was very short-lived, and as soon as that happened, the Fed, man, they just busted out the printer. Bam, 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 bam. Just printing stimulus checks left and right. For businesses, a bunch of loans left and right. They didn't even have to report how much they were making. They didn't even have to show no bank statements. But at the same time, people were just getting free money. And the thing is, they say free money, quote unquote, is the most expensive money. Because when there's a lot of free money and there's money available to the people, to the public, to businesses, people purchase everything. So again, the pandemic caused a quick inflation spike because the demand and supply were having issues. There was way more demand than there was supply. Then the Fed busted out the printer, and then they started printing out, giving out all kinds of money. So people started getting more money without even working. So the supply was getting less and less and less, and there wasn't people working. So there wasn't that much supply, but the people were still, they had high demands. And so this caused a lot of inflation in many things, man. A gallon of milk, $6 right now. It used to be like what, $3? Everything has gone up, man. And the crazy thing is that some items actually did suffer a supply issue. So legitimately, they could have raised prices for the little bit of supply. But then you got greedy companies, man, that raise the prices, whether they have a lot of supply, they still raise the prices just because they see other supplies going up in price. It's in other words like saying they're taking advantage of the situation. And that really does happen. It's like a little spiral. One item starts going up in price and value because we don't have enough of it. And the next thing you know, the companies do the same thing. So, again, supply and demand has a lot to do with it. The Fed's printing out money has a lot to do with it. It causes inflation. Houses are more expensive now. Trucks are more expensive now. Cars are more expensive now. Everything is way more expensive now because of inflation, my friends. So this is the backstory, all right? This is important to know to understand what is happening right now in 2022. Now, in 2022, the Fed decided to take the initiative to start quantitative tightening, which is basically, in other words, raising the interest rates to lower the amount of people that are out there spending money. They want to reduce the amount of people, the amount of money just flowing around in the markets, right? So why does the Fed raise the rates? So the theory behind this is it's more expensive to borrow money or to carry a balance on a credit card. So therefore, consumers will spend less. And when the spending declines, demand will fall, and eventually so will everyday goods. The prices of everyday goods are also, quote unquote, supposedly going to decline. So that is what the Fed has been doing. If you don't know, I think you do live under a rock, because ever since March, they've been raising the rates, right? Before March, the rates were super cheap. I think the Fed fund rate was like at 5%. I mean, not 5, 0.05, not even 1%. It varied from 0.05 or 0.5 to 1.25. That's what the Fed offered the banks to borrow money. And then the banks let us borrow money at a higher interest rate, like 2.8 or 3 point something. That's why to purchase a house was super cheap, The interest rates were low. So long story short, guys, that's what's going on right now in 2022. And now the question is, why is it that the cost of living is expensive? Inflation, everything's expensive. But us, the truck drivers, the rates are freaking low. Why are the rates still freaking low? Why are many truck drivers complaining that the rates are bad? Why are we pointing the finger at each other? Right now you got truckers pointing the finger at brokers, the brokers pointing the finger at the shippers, and it's just everybody's blaming each other. So why? That's the question that we're trying to answer right now in this video. Why are the rates of the loads low, but yet the fuel prices are high and inflation and the cost of living is high? Well, again, this time around, it doesn't really have to do too much with supply and demand, but at the same time, it does. Right now, the demand is highly declining. The demand is not there like it was in 2020 or 2021. The demand has been declining. So many things are just not being purchased nowadays because people are just sick and tired, man. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty much sick and tired. Everything that I am, I can never spend less than $100 now at Walmart. Everything's so expensive. So people are sick and tired. There's a lot of fear going on right now in regards to the, right now the fear is not so much that we're running out of products, even though there are some sort of shortages right now. But the fear right now is that everything's just gone out of hand with inflation. It's too high. And then to make matters worse, the interest rates now are more expensive. And so even though the interest rates doesn't directly affect you and I unless we're trying to finance a car or purchase a house, but it affects businesses. It affects a lot of businesses to borrow money to keep doing what they do, to manufacture goods, to sell. And so there's a lot of companies that are starting to lay off because, first of all, people are not purchasing the goods anymore. So there's a lot of companies that are noticing an effect in their sales, and they're starting to decline the amounts of, for the retail stores are starting to decline in the amounts of orders that they're putting in to the manufacturers. Walmart, just recently, man, they canceled billions of dollars in orders, bro, like right before the holidays. Why do you guys think this is happening? Because they can tell that the people aren't playing games right now. People are tired. People are not buying stuff right now. And so a lot of these companies, a lot of these retail stores, Target, Walmart, Amazon, all of these companies are starting to feel the effect. Okay? And it's not only just the retail stores. It's like a domino effect. It starts with a couple of companies, a certain industry, and then it starts to trickle down to other industries and other companies, and then the problem gets worse and worse and worse. So what happens when the consumers don't buy? The retail stores suffer, so then they cut back in orders. What happens when they cut back in orders? The manufacturers suffer now because now they cannot manufacture as much as they used to. And so, therefore, the prices for us truck drivers to deliver the goods to the retail stores and all these other stores is declining. So, yes, a lot of people are starting to see that there's not that many loads, first of all. And the little bit of loads that there are too many drivers out there that the brokers and even the shippers can negotiate the prices, because there's too many people fighting for a load. They can essentially lower the rates down, so that's one thing. And then just the fact that the demand is not there anymore, that's another factor. That's why right now the loads are low, the cost of living is high, and the fuel is kind of high. So that's just the gist of it, guys. There's a lot more things that kind of play in the background, and that's just kind of me kind of going over it really quickly. But just know that it's happening because of inflation. That's the main reason why, because we are fighting inflation. We're trying to lower down the cost of goods every day, and therefore the truck drivers are suffering right now. In 2020 was the opposite. There was a high demand of everyday products, so much that the loads were paying very good. But 2020, the crash of 2020, it's called the pandemic crash, because the COVID is what created that crash and caused the inflation afterwards. Right now there's a crash going on, but I call it the Fed crash, because it's been created. What you're experiencing right now, is being created by the Feds, the Federal Reserve. They are causing this in order to fight inflation. So it sucks. Yes, we suffer the most. I had a guy comment on one of my videos. He said that right now it's probably the worst time to be an owner-operator because fuel prices are high, the low rates are worse, and at this point in time, owner-operators are probably making less than the company drivers. And to be honest, guys, I don't doubt it. It sucks. So right now, it's very important for us rookies, or even if you have a couple of years in the game and you're trying to be an owner-operator, you got to really think about what you're about to do, because now I'm not saying that it's impossible to thrive in a market like this, but it's going to be definitely harder versus in 2020 when the demand was high. So you got to really think about it. I personally I don't think right now is the time to finance a truck. Shoot, I'm not even going to go out there and finance a car for that matter, because not only the prices are still high, but the rates are even higher now to finance. So, when your payment could have been $700, now it's probably going to be $1,000. because that's how much higher the rates have gone. So keep that in mind. I personally think probably your best bet, if you do want to get that feel for being an owner operator, but you don't want to have the responsibility of an expensive truck payment, or paying out of pocket for a breakdown, whether it's your engine or transmission or whatever the case may be, I think that your best bet probably right now is being a lease operator, just leasing the damn truck. Because as far as I'm concerned, the leasing companies are the ones that take care of all the breakdowns, right? I'm sure there's some sort of maintenance fee that they charge you, but overall, you take that stress away from you. And then what they do is they give you another truck. If the one that you have is completely out of service, they provide for you another truck. And I know this for a fact because the previous company I was with, they had 20 trucks. My boy Jovan, unfortunately for him, he went to in the little bit of time that he's been there, he's gone through like 3 different trucks now. Whoops. And I can't imagine if this company owned all 20 trucks and they had to go through 3 trucks. I just can't imagine the expenses, man. How much money they would have had to pay out of pocket, man. So for that reason, I think this company I used to work for, Carly & Cargo, that owned, had 20 trucks, I think that's a very good example of a company that can essentially, to a certain extent, thrive during a market like the one we're in right now. Again, being an owner operator, hats down for you guys. That same guy that commented down below on one of my other video, he said that right now you have to really master spreadsheets. You have to master knowing your expenses, knowing your income, just knowing every single detail to the dot, because if you don't, it can go sour for you pretty quickly. So anyways, long story short, guys, again, the reason why the low rates are really low right now, the cost of living is high and fuel is high, is because the feds are trying to fight inflation, and the demand for everyday goods is starting to decline. Unfortunately, this is the way it works. Unfortunately, this is the only way I think the government knows how to fight inflation. I just think the government needs to stop intervening every time, because every time there's government intervenience, something always goes wrong. They either overcalculate or overestimate, or undercalculate or underestimate. But that's just my personal opinion. So there you go, guys. Now, that's pointing out the obvious, not the obvious, but if you didn't know, now you know. Now, the question is, when will it all change for good? When can we possibly start seeing the load rates once again go back up again to a normal, to a price where owner operators don't have to complain that the brokers are, the ones that are taking a bigger cut than they should, to where we can all live in harmony and peace again, Well, maybe that's a little far-fetched, I don't know if we will ever get to that point, but I know for a fact, well, my personal opinion is, it's not financial advice. I think that the moment that we are going to start seeing a pivot is when the Federal Reserve themselves pivot. Whenever they say, all right, instead of hiking rates, we're either going to just stay at a standstill just stop hiking, or even better, when they start lowering the Fed fund rate. When that happens, so basically like the opposite of what is happening right now. Right now, the interests are going up. Inflation was already up. All right, inflation was already up. The Fed funds are going up, and the demand is going down. So when the Feds decide to lower the rates, because they will only do this if we're anywhere close to the goal that they're trying to reach when it comes to the inflation rate. Right now, it's at 8.2. They're trying to get it down to 2%, but I think they can possibly start pivoting once they get down to like 4% inflation rate. Now, they've been hiking the rates a lot, significantly, and it feels like we haven't even tickled inflation. So, unfortunately, I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon. Personally, from the videos I've been watching, the people I've been following, I think that anywhere within 6 months, not within, after 6 months, we might see the Fed pivot and start declining the interest rates. And again, if they do that, they make it easier for companies, for retail stores, for financial institutions to borrow money, to keep their businesses going, to keep doing what they got to do to stay in business. It makes it easier for them to borrow money because the money is cheaper. And if that happens, it's a domino effect. It's gonna affect the suppliers. The same thing for the suppliers. They're gonna be able to produce more supplies, manufacture more supplies. But if they have to borrow money, it's gonna be cheaper to borrow, and so the demand can essentially start going back up again. But again, we haven't even tickled inflation, so I don't even know if that's gonna happen. I mean, it could happen, maybe within 6 months, or after 6 months. And I know also another reason why or how it's gonna obligate them to pivot is if something crazy happens, like I don't know, like let's just say, like I can't think of a good example, but if something major happens that obligates the Fed to pivot, regardless if inflation is down or not. If something crazy happens, then they are gonna have to pivot. An example is like a big financial institution that the U.S. economy depends on a lot. If per se they were gonna go bankrupt, and if the government, if the economy can't afford for that, the Fed is gonna have to pivot, and is gonna have to bust out the printer again and start allowing them to borrow money at a cheaper rate, so that that financial institution doesn't suffer. And this could be a big bank. Yeah, so there's so much information out there, guys. I've been reading about so many things, man. The economy, stocks, all of this right now is affecting also the stock market, the crypto market, the ETFs markets. Everything is down right now. Even bonds are down. The value of bonds are down. The treasury bonds, the yields are high right now, but that's because they're trying to encourage you to buy these treasury bonds. So this is all because of inflation and because the demand is low. And so the Federal Reserve is raising the interest rates. When the opposite happens, the inflation goes lower, or something crazy happens and the Fed is obligated to lower the interest rate down, that's when we can possibly expect a turnaround in the economy. And us as the truck drivers, because we are the ones that deliver the goods, we are gonna see an increase in the load rates. But as of right now, guys, I think at least another good 6 months of pain, of blood in the streets, at least, And if inflation doesn't go down, I mean, it's gonna probably take longer. Because, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know about you guys, but I am pretty much done. Like, I just despise going to the Walmart and buying 4 things and spending $100 every single time I go to just get my day-to-day goods that I need, to be here trucking. But that is the long story short. I don't know, maybe I missed something in between that if I said something that I wasn't supposed to or incorrect, put in the comments below. Tell me what you guys think about everything that I just explained to you guys. Does this make sense? Is it confusing still? But yeah, so don't expect the rates to go up anytime soon. I think probably within 6 months to a year, that's when the interest rates might go up again. And yeah, so anyway, so before I leave though, before I let you guys go, I just want you guys to know that right now, guys, I can't stress this enough, is the best time. Unfortunately, for some people, they're gonna lose, but right now, it's the perfect time to increase your income. So again, if you guys are currently making under $1,500 gross a week, I believe that if you come to trucking and you become a truck driver, depending on the company you join, you can make more than that gross every single week. 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, even possibly up to 4,000, maybe. I currently make 75 cents a mile, and this week I put in almost 5,000. I was shy by like under 200 miles, or a little bit over 100, or something like that. And that's almost I think that's like $3,600, I think. Don't quote me on that, I haven't done the math, but for sure it's over $3,000. And so if I can do it, you guys can too. Trucking is easy. It's not difficult. You just gotta be very careful. You gotta be a good worker, and you gotta grind, man. You gotta grind, especially if you're out here trucking. So if you're considering the option of being a truck driver, I encourage you to do it. This is not financial advice, but I encourage you to do it. And yeah, I definitely believe that you can make a good living here in trucking. So anyways, with that being said, thank you so much. If you made it to the end of the video, don't forget to smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I appreciate you guys. You guys are real truck kings. Hashtag capital T RUC capital K ING truck kings. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Have a good one.
Give a damn about a hater when I feel like it. Not today, not today, not today, not tomorrow. Get out my way, please, I'm tryna get paid.